You are listening to the Brand Architect Podcast, and this is your host, Ani Alexander.
Hey there, everyone. Welcome to the Brand Architect Podcast. It's me, Anne Alexander. And before we start this episode, I would really love to say how grateful I am and how much I appreciate every single one of you. Actually, this month, and by saying this month, I mean July, the podcast grew exponentially. I'm getting loads of new listeners, so welcome everyone who's just starting listening to the Brand Architect Podcast. Welcome. I really appreciate the time and attention you're providing to me. I really am happy that you have discovered me. I hope I won't disappoint you. So today's episode is not going to be an interview. Today, I have repurposed one of my Facebook live streams because I think that the topic that was covered there is important from the branding perspective, from the human perspective, and it's something that people don't talk enough about. It's a not so popular opinion, and I'm talking about stuff that usually is not spoken about, and I think that it's worth thinking about those things. So the whole thing started by me discovering a very short 3-minute video on YouTube. And basically it showed how fake people are on social media, specifically on Instagram. So it showcased people who were waking up in the morning and putting on makeup, and after that going back to their bed and snipping selfie in order to show as if they have woken up like that. It showed different photos that people put up of the happy moments with their partners, while in reality they don't even speak to each other, about a really nice dinner with friends where basically they spent the whole dinner, each of them in their cell phones, sharing stuff and writing stuff and sharing the photo from the dinner, saying how much they enjoyed it. Basically fake impressions of the reality and trying to show things that seem much better than the real thing, and actually faking up stuff and showing the better part of their lives, filtering it out and making things not so genuine. So I watched that video. I decided that it's worth talking about, and I made a live stream about this, and I want to share with you what I spoke about, and hopefully it will provoke some thought. It will make you look back at how you behave on social media. And when I say you, I'm putting me in the same group as well. We all do that. So let's jump into the interview and see what I had to say over there. So today I want to talk to you about social media, about how genuine it is, about the impressions that we are leaving, and about how it actually affects our real lives and how they are entangled and all that stuff. So basically, for those of you who watched the video, it's basically showing how much we are changing the reality, or how much we are filtering it out in order to leave the impression that we want to leave. So in social media, when we're looking at our thread or on our timeline, on our Instagram photos of our friends we follow and all that stuff that's going on out there, there's always a big doubt about how realistic the things are, how photoshopped the photos are, how much do they show the whole picture, how much what they say is genuine and correct, and whether it's really the case or not. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about social media and how we actually participate in that, and what kind of relationships, if at all, we can call this thing that is creating on social media is a relationship. So let's talk about how we present ourselves on social media and why. So first of all, obviously the video showed that we do tend to show only the positive sides of the things. We do tend to exaggerate stuff, and we do
tend to try to look better than we really are, or emphasize the successes and not really show the other side of the coin. And obviously, yes, most probably it's logical because we know that many people will be seeing this thing. We know that many people who don't know us will be watching. We are probably trying to put out something out there that will minimize the risk of criticism, although it's almost impossible. So let's talk about this. First of all, why do we feel this obligation? Once we get into this trap of social media, somehow we do feel this obligation of putting out stuff very often and on regular basis and coming out with content even if we don't really have anything to say at this point. So why do we feel guilty if we didn't update our Facebook profile for a while? Why do we feel guilty if we don't really put anything out on Instagram and a new picture and all that stuff? So probably just because I have a big circle of online marketers and people who are doing their own online, who are having their own online business. Maybe that's why, but somehow I feel that people are just, moving forward and creating content and putting things out there. And they also feel obliged to share, so to speak, their personality, to be authentic, to share their private life, to show that they're humans. So their target audiences, so to speak, will resonate with them. And you know what? Maybe that's true, but I do believe that you do need to have a balance in there because let's be honest. I mean, I have 2,500 something friends on Facebook. Obviously, they are not my friends. Some of them are, but most of them aren't. I haven't met most of them. Even online, I haven't connected with most of them. And I really have big doubts that they do need to know which airport am I flying from, where do I go, where I will land, whether there was a delay or not, and all that stuff. So I really doubt that they do need to know what I had for breakfast or what kind of personal issues I'm struggling with. Unless there is a message in there and I want to share and I want to sort of, help. If I have figured out something I'm struggling with and I want to share and help you out, then it's another story. But usually I don't think that all these people really care about most of the stuff that we feel obliged to put out there. And the second thing is, I think that if you don't keep the balance and are open and out there and completely authentic in a sense that you are completely sharing absolutely everything that's going on with you, then let's talk about these 2.5K people online in your social media versus probably the 5 best friends you have in real life. What will be the difference if you're sort of, communicating and sharing all that stuff, and if you are building this connection on the same level as you're doing with your best friends, then what is different? What does for your best friends make them feel any more special than all the other 2.5K, right? So I do believe in balance. I do believe in showing part of the stuff that you feel comfortable showing and sharing. I don't think anyone should feel guilty for not sharing some things that he or she believes are private. And I don't think anyone has the right to demand or request that from you. So, the control is yours. You're the one who's deciding. You're the one who decides how much to give out and what exactly to give out. But let's talk about this video because it somehow showed that you decide to put out there certain things that leave the wrong impression. And I think many people are doing this these days. I think this again comes partly from people who are taking the wrong advice. We have been given loads of advice about branding yourself, and also about the thing that I really hate as an advice, but it's been given out lots of times, and it says fake it till you make it. So branding yourself as a personal brand and faking until you making together, when they combine, that video there that you saw just in the very beginning, that 3-minute video illustrates what happens when these two components collide. So what happens when these two components collide? When you're trying to create a brand and to create an image which not necessarily is yours, which is the wrongest thing to do. So obviously, it has to resonate with you and it has to be you. And it's just about showing parts of you that is real. But if you're also faking until you're making and pretending stuff that doesn't exist, you end up with this really, really wrong image. So you end up with people who are hiring, and we know them, right? I mean, I'm not going to name anyone, but we know people who are hiring big houses and hiring big expensive cars so they can shoot a video, having that on the background. We know people who brag about their successful clients, who got huge results because of their coaching. But I know personally few people, and I can tell for sure that they're struggling to get their first client. So all this bragging is completely fake. And we know people who basically just leave the wrong impression. They may not do it on purpose, but that's what we are getting. So we get a happy couple. I mean, we have someone who is struggling with their marriage, but she puts out photos of a happy couple in their happy moments or some old pictures, leaving the impression that everything is great. We have business people who have their own businesses and are struggling financially, who pretend that they're living their free life and are actually, working from a seashore and all that stuff. So what happens when we see all that? First of all, many people, especially the ones who have a little bit of confidence issues, a little bit of issues with where they are at their life right now, may start comparing themselves with those people. So when you start comparing, obviously you see the shining thing, you see the best parts of their lives, you don't see the backstory, you don't see the failures, you don't see the struggles, you just see the end result, if it's the result. You see stuff that has been made up. And when you compare, come on, obviously my piece of toast with Nutella for breakfast is not as glamorous and fancy as the photo on Instagram from a really expensive restaurant meal, right? I mean, you can't really compare that. Obviously, me sitting there and doing this redundant work like audio editing for my podcast does not really look as nice as someone sipping cappuccino in a really awesome, very fancy, really nice environment of a co-working space where all these tech startups are working together and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, if you start comparing yourself with that, first of all, pay attention and don't take everything exactly the way it is, because as I told you, it's not always the case. Second, stop comparing yourself, because first of all, even if that's the case, you don't know the backstory, you don't know the person behind it, you don't know how many years he tried few things that didn't work out, how many sleepless nights it took him to get where he is, and maybe this is his year 5 and you're comparing your month 1 with his year 5. So comparing is not really the good reason for this. Second, don't really look at social media as an indicator for success, because you know what? All this number of likes, the number of comments, the number of people who follow you, that is a number. That does not define you. That does not define how good or bad you are and how successful you are. That is just a number that says that some people were better at some things. Some people were better at probably, I don't know, growth hacking or, at finding out ways to quickly gain audience or traction or whatever it is. It doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't mean that a person who has 10,000 likes is way better than you are. It doesn't mean that these 10,000 likes are real people. It doesn't even mean that even if they are real people, these people are the engaged fans, or they just didn't like in order to give you do you a favor and not to offend you just because you invited them to like your page. I think people are scared of opening up. So it's always easy to hide behind a mask. I mean, it happens. It's not only a social media issue. It happens in real life as well. Because let's be honest, when you are hiding behind a mask, when you are just someone among the crowd, and when you are not sharing your opinions, especially if they are not popular, then you feel safer because you don't stand out. You're not a person who people can finger point at and get attacked just because your opinion is not the mass opinion. So I think that authenticity, first of all, probably those who are not as exciting, as at least if they don't think they are very exciting and interesting and creative and all that stuff, they are afraid to show that, so they sort of, mask it behind all these interesting social media tricks to show that probably they are much better in the way they view it than they are. And those who are actually very different may also be scared a little bit to show that they are, because different people, those who stand out and those who are not following the crowd, are the ones who are usually getting under this social pressure that are being attacked by masses, and that are the creeps and the misunderstood people. So not always they want to put themselves in that situation. But I don't think it really matters, because that's exactly the message. I think that social media and the trends we are seeing start becoming so massive that they start dictating your behavior on social media. So we all know how people behave. We all know what kind of we already have these analytics, right, in place. So we do have this opportunity to look at our content, at what we have been putting out there, and to see what works well. And when I say works well, I mean what people resonate most with, what do they engage most, what do they share most. I have loads of different types of content. I have my podcast episodes, which have a different style. I have my live streams, I'm still figuring out my style in that. I have my fiction books. I have my blog posts. I have some thoughts that I'm sharing on Steemit. So it's all very diverse, but I can see what does better than the others. And I think it's, for online marketers and online entrepreneurs, maybe it's a good thing. But on the other hand, it might not really be a good thing, because it means that once I know what does best, I may end up being tempted to create that type of content, right? Because it's logical. If you want bigger fans, if you want to create stronger relationship, if you want to grow your audience base, you just do what they like, right? But at the end of the story that's the logical thing. That's what everyone, most of the people are doing. But that's one thing, which means that your tribe, you're not leading your tribe is leading you. And to be honest, I don't really feel so comfortable about that. I don't think that if at that moment of time I'm inclined and I feel like creating a certain type of content, I should stop myself and not do it and create something else just because that something else did better. So for me, it's really a bit worrying that social media behavior starts dictating your behavior and starts defining your success and defining who you are and how much do you feel obliged to put things out there? How much do you feel obliged to do things in a certain way? And how much do you become dependent on people's reactions on social media to what you have created and what you have done? So at the end, we end up being, I don't really know why, but many people do depend on this acknowledgement in forms of likes, in forms of comments, in forms of engagement in a certain way on social media. And I don't know why. I mean, is it because they lack that acknowledgement in real life and they're trying to find it somewhere else? Is it because they are trying to prove to others objectively that, okay, these are the people who don't know me, but they still like my stuff. It means that my stuff is good enough. Is it because they feel lonely? I mean, there is a paradox here. Many people spend loads of time on social media because they feel lonely and they're trying to fight that loneliness. And they create this illusion of being among many people, of talking with many different people, of getting reactions, and that sort of makes them feel better. But the problem is social media relationships and connections, how authentic or how genuine are they? Have you ever thought about this? I mean, if they are leaving these photos and strategies and the impression of the distorted reality of not really the real picture, who said that in conversations and who said that in social media interaction, especially if it's not via private messages, but on your wall and in comments, who said that that's genuine? Who said that whatever was written was really what the person meant? I had many, I mean, let's not talk about me. I'll talk about even bigger names, like many big names who people want to interview. I mean, they get so many flattering comments, so many nice emails and all that stuff. And you don't really know whether the person who wrote them really liked them or they just wanted to get them on their podcast just to get an interview. So it's always a little bit, I'm a little bit skeptical about that stuff because I know that on social media, the reality is a little bit distorted to a certain extent. No one wants to put their photo exactly at the moment they just woke up because probably it's not something you want to share with so many people, especially those you don't ever know. Let's be honest, we all have egos. We all love when our ego is happy. We all love when it's boosted. That's the human nature. So staying humble is a challenge, especially at a certain point when you become relatively popular, when you do gain audience, when you are getting really nice reviews about your content, about your products and services, about yourself even. I mean, everyone loves compliments. It's normal. But the thing is, if you're distorting the reality, if you're pretending, so let's say if I'm pretending that I'm much prettier than I really am, if I'm photoshopping my photos on social media, and I'm leaving the impression that I look much, much nicer, and if someone compliments my looks, do I believe that? I mean, that's what they have seen. They've seen enhanced looks of mine, for example. By the way, I never Photoshop my photos, but anyway. And when that happens, and I keep on the hype and put out even more professional photos and more professional makeup and all that stuff, what happens if I go to a live event? If I'm invited to a conference and I meet these people in real life, I can't Photoshop my real self, right? So it's always, the further you go from the reality, more difficult it will be to meet these people in real life later on. So that is something that really, really has to be considered, because you can pretend to a certain point, you can get away with some stuff, but there are things that you can't get away from. And what you can't get away from is your real self. And it will show sooner or later. Maybe if you're just writing blog posts, it will be more difficult to figure out if you are fake or not. But if you're doing a live stream like this, you can't fake much unless you're a super talented actress, right? So yeah, that's the thing. And so don't really I guess the main message was, first of all, don't take everything for granted. Don't take the things you see on social media the way they are, because they aren't. No one wants to talk about their failures. I mean, unless you're James Altucher, you're not going to go ahead and talk in details about the worst day in your life, about the biggest failure of your life, about stuff that you completely fucked up. And because it's painful. We don't want to talk about that. We don't really want to share that. So obviously we do share stuff that is nice, that is popular, that is sexy, and that we know that people will like. So don't take everything for granted. Don't take what you see on social media and all the claims that people are making on social media as if they are true. Always take it with a little bit of irony, and unless you know the person personally, even if it's an online connection, but unless you have connected with the person and unless you have spoken with the person and know who that person is, don't ever make any conclusions. Don't compare yourself to that person because you don't know the backstory, you don't know the whole holistic picture and all the components of the thing, and you don't know how it works. So don't really make this comparison. And the last point that I wanted to make was when I watched this video, it was the time when, since few weeks already, I sort of went a lower profile on Facebook. Before, I spent so much more time on Facebook than before. Now I moved to sharing my thoughts more on Steemit. So I'm sharing stuff there, and I spent less time on Facebook. And you know what happened? I never thought about this before, but when I watched this video and I started doing this live stream and spoke about the thing, I came up with this conclusion. Once you detach from social media for a while, at least you don't take it so seriously and you're not so engaged and involved in it, you become free. And by that, I mean you care less. You don't care less about the people. Let's make it clear. I still communicate with people that I communicated before. It's another story. It's already a connection. It's already a relationship that was built. But I care less about what I should share on Facebook, how it will look, what people will think about it, what is the best time to share it so more people can see it, and all that stuff. So it basically comes to the thing. I just saw a quote the other day which said, I'm 98% sure you don't like me, but I'm 100% certain I don't care. So it's sort of, you gain back your freedom of doing what you want, doing it the way you want it. And by detaching and not comparing yourself to others, you sort of chill a little bit. You don't take things so seriously. You don't take yourself so seriously, and you don't overanalyze. You just share. I didn't have a script when I pushed this, button of going live. I didn't have a script. I just had watched the video. I wanted to share my views on it. I didn't prepare in a sense that, I didn't really know what I was going to talk exactly about and what kind of impression I was going to leave. I know that this is not the perfect time for the US audience, which is my biggest audience. So most of the people who really follow and like my stuff will watch it on replay. But I saw the video, I thought about stuff, I wanted to share it, I just did it. So otherwise, it becomes too strategic, it becomes partly fake, and it becomes very scripted. So, and therefore not really as genuine as it should be. Not everything is as it is the way you see it on social media. Therefore, don't make conclusions about people you don't know personally. Don't compare yourself. Don't forget that all these social media measurements in terms of likes and friends, number of friends and comments and all that stuff does not define you. It does not define your success. It does not mean how good or bad you are. And you are enough the way you are already. And the last thing is detach. Take some time off. Look at it with a fresh look. And become free to do whatever you want and the way you want it.
Okay, everyone. So that's all that I had for you today. I hope that whatever you heard provoked a little bit of thought and you will reflect on things and you will pay attention on how you personally behave on social media. I definitely am trying to modify my behavior and be as genuine and real as I can. And meanwhile, I would really appreciate if you took 1 minute and left a review for the podcast on iTunes. That would immensely help the podcast grow even more. I really want to thank every single one of you who have been listening to me from the very start. And I'm welcoming all the new listeners because I definitely had loads of them, especially in the last month. Welcome, and I hope that you will stick around. So that's all I had for you today. Thank you very much, and I'll meet you in the next episode.